Right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kieran and welcome to another survival horror video. Today we're actually going to be talking about a new survival horror title called Hide or Die. Now this is a multiplayer horror game being developed for the PC, and it can be technically called survival horror, but just to let you all know that this isn't like a survival horror multiplayer title like Resident Evil Outbreak or anything like that. I'll actually be honest with you all, I'm mostly covering this game because there isn't any really real true survival horror games that are coming out in the near future, except for things like Call of Cthulhu and stuff like that. But the only things that have really came up recently have mostly been like PT and fucking Amnesia clones, to be honest, which I'm honestly sick and tired of seeing. That in like games like Agony. Like I've seen a shit ton of things like Agony, it's just terrible, man, it's just bad. So what we got today is a 1v15, where at the start all 16 players are together but soon turn to the darkness. Hide or Die is the first game to come out of Vec 4 Digital, which is a newly formed team from somewhere in the world. It doesn't really tell you. We don't actually have that information. We don't actually know much about the team apart from that they're newly formed, and that's about it. Actually, nah, I just found the Kickstarter page there. I didn't really scroll all the way down on the Kickstarter page until just there when I seen details about the team. So apparently there is 3 members of this team, all with good experience, and also a couple of freelancers that they've also hired for the game. One of the guys has experience working on Star Citizen, another has experience with 10 commercial applications for Unreal Engine 4, and an other one is actually studying computer science at uni, and also has experience on Unreal Engine and Unity Engine. So these guys aren't like amateurs or anything like that, they actually do have some experience, which is cool and which is different because recently every time I see a new game pop up, it is always by people that just want to make a game and they've not really had any knowledge about making games before. So we get quite, basically we get asset flips most of the time, which is quite a shame. I was actually doing a stream there that had I actually noticed an asset flip on the spot, and I'm like, oh. In Hide or Die, you start out as just some lad who's trapped in a bunker with a few other guys, equipped with only a phone. The cool part is that this actually is only the lobby with a player count being displayed on a wall in the bunker. I assume that when the counter hits 16, shit starts to go down, the lights switch off and an alarm turns on, basically telling people to get the fuck out. Now at this point there is multiple ways to get out of the bunker, and it probably leads to different areas in the map, which I do find pretty cool, to be honest. But players scatter and make a break for the exit when this alarm goes off. Bear in mind though that this isn't a Fallout vault style exit where you leave into a cool looking wasteland where like nice calming music starts to play. No, you emerge into a dark haunting forest where body bags hang from trees, kinda like that scene from PT where it's like the fridge is like dangling from the ceiling. It's kind of like that but with trees, and there's fucking hundreds of them out everywhere. So once you emerge onto the map, the player is equipped with only their phone, which acts as a text chat for players and a torch so you can see in the dark. I love how it tells you when players have been killed by simply like saying, oh yes, call it the Codfather 69 has left. It just says that. It's like if you've ever been in like a Facebook group chat and it just says, oh yeah, by the way, this person left the group chat, it's basically that when someone's been killed, which is kind of cool. I quite like that. It's just a very small thing, but I like it. The phone is demonstrated in the demo with a player alerting another when they've seen a killer and what items they actually currently have. When I mean items, I mean for the actual player text in it, not for the killer, because the killer has their own unique set of like weapons and stuff like that. It can't be changed. The opening of the demo really sets the tone of the game. It's quiet, it's intense. The atmosphere honestly reminds me more of Outlast than it does to Friday the 13th, which could be an easy comparison due to their like similar gameplay styles. From here, players must roam, collect supplies, and turn on fuses to fight away the incoming darkness, which if consumed by, you turned into a killer. A session seems like it's broken down into sections. Once you've activated all the fuses in a section, you have to move forward or else you will be lost. This can be probably compared to that of like Fortnite and PUBG with the incoming zone, so that means that if you're outside the circle, well, you're fucked, basically. But let's talk about maps and gameplay. What I like so far is that the game seems to have multiple varied locations, this ranging from some kind of Camp Crystal Lake type place to a calm, nice suburban area. Now I don't actually know if these locations are a part of the one actual map. It's unlikely, but it would be interesting if it did. Imagine the idea of running out of the woods to find hope in like such a small little isolated town. You go and you take cover inside one of the houses and you kind of feel safe. It's not safe, it's never really safe to be honest. But aye, hopefully they are 2 different maps because it will keep the gameplay style fresh and it keeps things interesting and different, unlike that of PUBG in Friday the 13th, which only had like 1 map at launch. In terms of gameplay, Hide or Die follows similar gameplay styles with that of like Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th, but also with a little tiny bit, like a little tiny fucking, not even a teaspoon mate, like just a wee tiny slither of a Battle Royale formula. There is also like a hiding mechanic in the game, sort of similar like something you would find in Outlast actually. Do you know what? Outlast is probably a perfect example right now, because there is a similar hiding mechanic where a person can go hide in like a locker, hide in like a bin, and then they can slowly peek out as well. Oh, there is a game actually like that. I don't think in Outlast you can peek, but there is a game where you can peek. But yeah, there's a hiding mechanic like that where you can go and hide from the killer. I'm not too sure if you start to peek, the killer can notice you more, or if it's just due to your benefit. I'm not too sure in that one, but I'll find out. Like I said before, players are tasked to reroute power from the bunker to light towers, which illuminate the area and clears the darkness. To do this, they must travel across the map looking for fuses to turn on by opening them up and using keyboard keys to flip certain switch. So that means you press F to flip one, press 0 to flip another, and you have to do all these, which might take a little bit of time, depends on how fast of a typer you are. The remaining survivors can either choose to travel to the tower for safety, store their collected items before moving on to the next section, or choose to escape. If they decide to bypass the tower, they risk their items but will earn bonus rewards and XP for how long they can survive for. This kind of reminds me of the whole Escape from Tarkov game, which is a game where it's like you're thrown into a match, you have to make it to the extraction zone, but you also have to collect a bunch of loot and all that as well, and if you make it to the extraction point, you keep all that loot and you can continue on to future matches, which is quite cool. Hopefully it's the same like this game. I don't know if it's the same like this game, but it did say you can store your collected items, so I'm guessing it's hinting to something like that. Players who get too close to the darkness is consumed and becomes a crazed killer who needs to hunt down and kill other players. The remaining survivors will need to set up traps, use supplies, and traverse the dangerous environment in order to survive. Players will need to travel the world until they are either consumed and have killed others, or they are killed themselves. Each time a section is cleared by a light tower, the darkness leaves a player and waits till the next section before starting the cycle over again. The remaining players will die off until the inevitable scenario happens when the killer is pitted up against the final survivor. This player will now have the opportunity to find an equalizer in the world, which is some sort of weapon like a hunting rifle or like a fire axe or something like that. The two will then enter a tense final showdown where only one will be left standing. Don't worry though, because there is defense items that you can pick up in the world before this final showdown. The only one I've seen so far though is a stun gun, but I can imagine there is more shit like bats and stuff like that. So let's talk about the darkness for a second. What is it? This is essentially the item in the world that corrupts and changes a survivor into a killer if looked at for too long. This lets players dynamically control who becomes the hunter, and it can appear anywhere throughout the world, but can be found by following the darkness trails wisping across the level. These trails always point to the corrupting source. The player consumed by it will become the killer for the current section as they try to kill off all the other survivors. If they fail to prevent the survivors from rerouting the power to clear the darkness, then it leaves them, which returns them back into a normal person before they were corrupted. The darkness then moves on to the next section looking for the next survivor to corrupt. There will be 3 types of different killers to choose from, each with their own playstyles, equipment and abilities. The fisherman is a hunter who uses modified fish finder to scan areas for sounds. He uses a harpoon gun which has quite the range on it, but it can take a good while to reload, so if he misses you, that's your chance to escape. The child has the ability to reach places you would never think of and hides in tall grass out of sight. He has the ability to ambush killed players using his arsenal of toys. This killer is more melee focused, so if you do catch a glimpse of him, just run. That's it. Fuck dealing with Chucky. There's just no happening. Chucky actually used to terrify me when I was a kid, to be honest. Like, my older sister bought a Chucky doll, like in real life, and it used to terrify me, man. Like, I used to get up in the middle of the night and just see it sitting up in the corner, and I used to be so scared. The final killer is of course an evil scientist, because these games need to have some kind of scientist at some point. This killer has the ability to place down electrified barriers so he can trap players for a limited time. This killer is also melee focused, as our weapon of choice is an electric baseball bat. By the way guys, there is only one killer per section, so that means if you die from the darkness, that means you're out of the game. So it's not like it's like, oh yeah, by the way, if everyone dies, they become a killer and they have to hunt down the last player. It's not like an infection type game, it's not like that at all. There is only one killer, but the killer can change throughout different sections. So that is it for this video. Are you excited for Hide or Die? Let me know down in the comments below. I know this isn't a traditional survival horror game, but it is still cool and interesting to see a multiplayer game like this exist. To be honest, it has been hard trying to look for any good survival horror games recently, so if you do come across any, please let me know down in the comments below or on Twitter. Anyway lads, that's me. Thank you all for watching, I hope you all enjoyed, and see you later. Bye bye.